Here. Kent?
Here.
Leeper? Here. Pearson?
Here.
Reed?
Here.
Stahl?
Here.
Welding?
Here.
6:03.
Mr. Britton, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright. Sorry. At this point, we have a recognition of visitors.
Yes, we have Sharon here from NG. She's going to present in a minute. After we go through the eye of the storm, and just as a reminder, due to proprietary reasons, we'll stop the video during Sharon's presentation, and then we'll start back up with that afterwards. Everything we'll do then afterwards will be in, obviously, an open session and recorded. So,
Alright,
so now we have eye of the storm, I believe.
marching band?
Okay. So I brought with me Sierra, who's our drum major.
Okay.
And I put one of these lovely little sheets on all of your places there. And I'm sorry you guys didn't get one, but it's got pretty pictures. This is just kind of some of the pictures we took during the season. And just kind of as a summary of our season, our marching season starts before school starts. We start the week before school starts. Well, actually, further back than that, I write drill and music and stuff like that. And then the kids come for a week of band camp. They work really, really hard. They take the last part of their summer and give it up for, you know, learning the show and the drill. And it's kind of a lot of hard work, and it's hot and gross, but they come out the other end really knowing their show really well. They put on a great show for our home crowd here at Sangamon Valley. And then also, we take the show on the road. This year we went to 3 competitions. This one right here is Monticello. We took 3rd in our class. And we got best percussion and best something else. Drum major. Sierra got best drum major at that one. Then we also went to Newton. We got 3rd in our class there as well. And then the last one was Effingham, and that's the one we took 1st in. We were very lucky at that one. There were 5 bands in our class, I think, and we were kind of in an upper class, but the kids did a great job. They really put on a great show, so I'm very proud of them. They had a really good season. So, Sierra's going to talk a little bit about how she did this year and last year. This is her 2nd and final year as our drum major.
I love doing it. I love being drum major. It's so much fun to just see everything come together like he does. So some other band kids might not agree with this, but I enjoy band camp, but I also don't have to do the marching.
She gets to hang out on the scaffolding.
Yeah. I do like to sit there and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to. And we do band camp Monday through Friday, and everybody gets really tired after a while. So on Thursday we play water games, and that's a really good way to just get everybody ready for the show on Friday. And if I had to pick a favorite competition, it'd be Effingham, just because it's a really good band environment. We didn't get to go last year, and I felt like our band really missed out. And they didn't have the posters this year in that tunnel. Band posters. Usually there's posters where you can sign your name. And obviously we took 1st in that competition. IBY's my favorite too. And then afterwards we went and ate at Cracker Barrel, which was a really good way for us to just kind of end our marching season, hang out with our friends, and take our victory home. And what else was I going to talk about? There's something in here.
Homecoming?
Yeah, homecoming week. We take time off from our marching show. We take a whole week off. What did we do this year with it?
Thriller is the song that we
Yeah.
played.
We played
And
Thriller
the junior high kids come over and get to do that with the high schoolers. And then we also march the parade for homecoming.
That's when I get to play my instrument for whenever the middle schoolers come over.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way we announce the marching theme is at Prism, the concert that's how far away is it?
It's in March.
March, okay, that's what I thought. It's in March, and then halfway through the concert, he'll show it up on the screen, and all the students will finally get to figure out what the next season is, and I think that's really cool. I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Mr. Brecky, how many kids did you finish with? I was trying to count on the picture.
Oh, the picture's not complete because we had a couple friends that were not at that particular day of camp, but we ended up with, how many in guard? 7? I think we ended up with 46 in the marching band, and then we've got 44 in concert band because not all the color guard is in band, so.
Did you know what your program's gonna be next?
I
won't
do,
ask you what
I
it is,
do
but
know.
you
I
probably
actually have the
an
next
idea.
2 years picked out already, but we're gonna wait till Prism to announce
Yeah,
that,
of
so
course.
please come to the Prism concert.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then we have Scholastic Bowl.
Yes. And Ms. Main's here as Mr. Scandino.
Mr. Scanavino and Mrs. Weiss couldn't be here due to prior commitments, so I, as default, became Mr. Scanavino. Our JV and varsity scholastic bowl teams had an outstanding fall season, and Alex is gonna talk all about it because he knows more about it than his mother. He just said, yep. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, first of all, I need to grab these. I'm just gonna put these right here if that's okay. Alright. First of all, if you don't know me, I'm Alex Mann. I am Mary Lynn Mann's son. I am a member of the Sangamon Valley Varsity Scholastic Bowl team. This season, we were fortunate enough to finish with a record of 13-5, which is probably one of the best we've had in years past. We finished first in our fall league, which is consisted of the teams of Taylorville, St. Teresa, Murrow, Forsyth, Mount Zion, Sangamon Valley, both Eisenhower and MacArthur, and Southeast, I think sprinkled Southeast. We finished 7-1 with our only loss being to Murrow Forsyth. We did not do as well in the tournament, but we finished as consolation champions. And the team members, my teammates are like, we have a total, we have, we have 9 members. And we all do a very good job working together and buzzing in and just having fun. And since another person can be here tonight, I will talk about the JV.
Is that average size for your for a Scholastic Bowl?
The maximum size a team can have is 15.
Okay.
And so for a school our size to have 9, that's pretty good, I would say. And then our JV team actually did better than the varsity team. They finished with a record of 13-2. And they finished with a perfect record in this fall league, beating everyone. They finished 3rd place in the tournament based on the points scoring system. They lost 1 game, 2 other teams lost 1 game, and so the team who scored the most points will get 1st place, and the second team will get 2nd place. And there's also 9 in the JV team, and Caleb Alderson and Ben Whitney also received awards for being the toss-up leaders. Did I mention that I got 1st place in both toss-ups in the fall league and the tournament? And Caleb Alderson and Ben Whitney received awards for both the fall and the tournament. And we also will start our winter league, which is the IHSA season, versus other teams in the Lincoln Prairie. So LSA, Argenta, Arcola, and all those teams. And then we also participate in the Macon County tournament in early February, and then the Masonic tournament in middle February. And then we'll start our regional action in early March.
Well, hopefully you guys can come back and fill us in on how all that goes.
All right, thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for representing our school so well.
Yep.
Pass on our congratulations.
I will.
Okay. And Veterans Day Assembly, Mr. Britton.
Yeah, I can talk about that. I just want to express that I'm really proud of our school. Last Monday, we invited the veterans into the building. We had the primary school, the intermediate, middle school, and high school all come together at the gym. It's just nice to see the kids prepare for and show honor and gratitude and respect to these gentlemen and men and women that were there. You know, our kids had time to prepare for it. All the elementary kids at one point sang a certain type of song. I know Jake and Weiss played taps upstairs. That was really emotional. Mrs. Weldy always knocks it out with God Bless USA. She did a great job too. What's that? Julie Shaw and Alexander Mallory both spoke. There were students that spoke there, so the committee does a good job of putting that together. If I start mentioning names of everybody that helps, I'll probably leave someone out, but the building looked great, all the way from the art teacher down to history teacher that helps with the speeches, so it was a good day.
Very impressive. Well, thank you. At this point, you guys are free to go if you'd like. And are we gonna do the NG resolution?
I think we probably should.
So then we'll ask Mr. Grecky to shut down for a bit. So at this time, we need a motion to enter closed session for the reasons stated on the agenda. Motion made by Jeff Stahl, is there a second?
Second.
Linda Weldy, call roll please. And 6:27.
Okay, Pearson?
Yes.
See you Friday?
Yes. Is everybody coming?
Yes.
4 of us.
All right, excellent. I look
Yeah.
forward to it.
Thanks.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes.
Okay, so motion to accept the closed session minutes as read in closed session.
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
Roger Reed, call roll please.
Stahl?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Okay, motion to accept the resignation of Chuck Ferris effective November 11th, 2019.
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson. I'm sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Linda Weldy, call roll please.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Motion to appoint Michael Miller as a paid assistant high school boys basketball coach.
So moved.
Motion made by James Kent. Is there a second?
Second.
Eric Pearson, call roll please.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Motion to employ Derek Myers as a volunteer assistant high school basketball coach, boys basketball coach.
So moved.
Motion made by Roger Reed, is there a second?
Second.
James Kent, call roll please. Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes. Motion to employ Judy Peak as an at-will benefited school bus driver.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second? Jeff Stahl, call roll please.
Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes.
Okay, motion to employ Carolyn Williams as an intermediate lunchroom aide.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second?
Second.
Roger Reed, call roll please.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Motion to approve the FMLA request of Kylie Kovai to begin on November 27th, 2019 and ending on January 6th, 2020, pending medical release.
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
Linda Weldy, call roll please.
Stahl?
Yes.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
And you all received the consent agenda in your packet. Are there any questions regarding that? So at this time, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second?
Second.
Eric Pearson, call roll please.
Weldy?
Yes.
Guerrero?
Yes.
Kent?
Yes.
Leeper? Yes. Pearson?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Stahl?
Yes.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, I have 3 items. The first one being the intermediate roof replacement. You saw Sharon's presentation, because there wasn't a presentation, but, anyway, based on her recommendation and some of the cost savings that we'll see by not having to, install equipment and then take it off and put a new roof on a few years down the road, I'm going to recommend, when we get to that point in new business, that we replace the roof at the intermediate building for a cost not to exceed $380,568. Next up, the middle school boiler replacement. As I told you in my recommendations, we have a leak. We've been fighting it in the middle school boiler for some time. It started last spring, and it was right at the end of the heating season, so we just limped along. We tried to have somebody come in and repair the boiler by welding the cast, and I don't know if any of you are welders, or know anything about trying to weld cast metal. It doesn't work very well. It hasn't worked very well. So, the boiler is having to use makeup water on a regular basis. I've been waiting to get a bill on that, and we just received the bill, and it went from $500 to $1,000 a month. We will contact somebody from the village and see if we can get an adjustment on that. But with that, I gave you bids from King Lar. I also put in your packet a resolution for emergency boiler repair. I don't think this is something that we can wait and go through the process to architect and low bid. I think that the bid that King Lar came up with, I gave you two options. And with those two options, I'm recommending that we go with the 3 high efficiency boilers. I'm hoping that we will get some money from Ameren on that, roughly $17,000. But what I probably will do with the motion is that you approve the resolution and you accept the bid for the high efficiency boilers for an amount not to exceed $135,812, and that will cover everything if we got nothing from Ameren.
So the grant is up to that amount, or?
The original grant was $35,000 to do both the intermediate boiler and the middle school boiler. So it wasn't quite a 50-50 split, so I'm estimating that it should be somewhere around $17,000 that we get a rebate from Ameren for that.
And Bob, does this affect or replace anything that we had scheduled to work on through MG at all?
No, unfortunately, none of that was included.
We didn't prioritize the
It
leak that
didn't
we
make the
didn't know
cut.
was gonna happen?
The boiler did not make the cut, and there's no plate on it to really tell the age, but we're guessing that it's somewhere in the early 80s. Not very efficient.
Put in the 80s or 80 years old?
No, it was put in the 80s. There's one sitting next to it that I think is the original equipment that would have been 1926, 27. So it's almost 100 years old, but it's not operational anymore. So they will demo the oldest boiler, pour a pad down there, set the new boilers in place, and then do switch over and then demo the other boiler as well. So when it's all done, there'll be a nice clean area down there, and all of the pumps and everything will be updated, so we should be good to go. And again, you put that with $380,000, that takes us, almost $500,000 that would have went into working cash. But what I plan to do is, if we have the surplus of money in the 60 count, the sales tax money, I'm gonna talk to our auditors about the possibility of putting that money back into working cash. Because I think we should be able to, because we're spending working cash money to make building repairs.
There be no asbestos abate or anything with those old boilers, is there?
No, they looked, and the asbestos from the oldest boiler had already been done at some point. I'm not sure when that was done, but King Law did look at that and look into the possibility of asbestos, and there was none. So, when we get to that point, again, I would recommend that we go with the high efficiency boilers. And then the last thing is the Ameren electrical upgrade. As I mentioned, to do all the electrical upgrades here at the high school, the new air conditioning and all that, we need to have 3-phase power at this building and a new transformer to get that pole that looks like it could fall over at any moment. But Ameren says it's fine, so they will have to bring the third leg of the 3-phase all the way down from the elevator, which consists, I think they told me originally 11 new poles. And again, I kind of gave you some numbers. It says NG's gonna cover $50,000. Well, that was part of their bid to include that $50,000. Then there was an increased revenue credit that Ameren's gonna give us for roughly just under $8,000. So basically what we have to do is keep the high school open for, I put 7 years, and I went back and looked at it, and it's actually 5 years. And I think as we go over the minimum kilowatt, I think we'll probably have that knocked out in much shorter time than 5 years.
They'll be done for the years then,
Yes.
the more the services you use.
We won't have any problem, there will be no additional cost to us unless we close the high school. And I don't foresee
Not
that.
gonna do that. We're fixing it up.
So when we get to that point in new business, I would recommend that you approve the resolution. I don't remember what it's called now.
Electric system extension.
Yes. Motion to approve the electric system extension agreement with Ameren. I recommend that you do that.
Okay.
And that's all I have. Did anybody have any questions for that, all that stuff?
No, so we're gonna move in on to the curriculum director's report.
We have some good news for us.
The Illinois report card online went live here not too long ago. It has a lot of information on there that you can get on there and play with. One of the interesting reports that I always like to kind of look at, just to kind of do some comparisons, is you can go into academic achievement and some of the student reports in there and look at how we compare to other districts. Usually I like to look at those that are kind of nearby and also similar in size to us, as well as others. Like I said, you can just kill all kinds of hours on this thing. And I like to do that and kind of see where we're stacking up on things, just to see how good of a job we're doing. And if you'll notice there, you'll see that I included the SAT scores for the last 2 years that you were able to access. This is gonna be our 4th year that we've been taking the SAT in Illinois since we moved away from the ACT. And for the last year here, you'll see ELA, which is language arts, how we stacked up there. The good group of students that took that, we were 36% in the green, which is meets, with an additional 3% of exceeds there, and that's basically lines up to those students that are at grade 11 or college and career ready. With the yellow being that they're approaching, so they may be, according to those scores, about a year below. And then, of course, these are the Illinois State cut scores, which are totally different from the College Board's actual ones. And then we see the students who are more than 1 year below standards based on that test. So you notice there on ELA, we were hanging right in there with Maroa was the only one really ahead of us in terms of number of meets and exceeds overall. Obviously, some students or schools in there, they had a higher number of exceeds in some cases, but with schools our size too, that can be a matter of just a few students. So thought that was pretty nice. And then if you kind of look to the next on the math, we were ahead of everybody on the SAT this time around by a pretty good margin. And that's pretty well what we saw with the 2018 results too. If you look at those within that in the report, we did very well in math and that too, and the ELA again was very solid. So, I know sometimes we look at those numbers, and I know when I reported out on that last month, said, well, we're at 39%, and to us, we kind of think on a 100% scale, and we think, well, 39%, that's not that great. But when we compare that to what other schools are seeing, that's very good. And I'll also mention that ISB's math doesn't always line up, because I know when I added the percentages up, we were at 39, and theirs says 38, I don't know where they were missing that 1%, but it was a real deal on there. Had conflicting scores on both of those things. So they had that. I also kind of went through, and they also have some other demographic data, so there's some financial aspects there. So you can kind of look at what we spend in comparison to them on instructional and operational spending. The property tax breakdown is on there and other things like that. We also had, kind of snag this one for a minute if you have an additional couple pages on that. And then you also can see within that, what the characteristics of the districts look like too. So you can see, where we stand with low income, where we look at our attendance rates and our chronic truancy and things of that nature, as well as enrollment was included on that page 2 for those schools. So, really, I thought it was pretty great to look at and very telling. In 2017, they always tell us, don't look at that first year that you take an assessment because it's usually not a real great, but even the 2017 scores that we looked at were pretty stable. We'd never taken the test before. We didn't really know how to prepare students for doing it. It was a little different than the ACT. But once we got our bearings about us and were able to get into it, I felt like we did a great job, and really kudos to the teachers for putting so much work into the SAT prep and things. I know Miss Allen was a real driving force, and Mr. Hansbrough, with that junior level work that they were doing, and they have carried that on with Mr. Higby and Miss Acreed, and the other English and math teachers too, that have done a tremendous job. They've done a lot of great work, and the students, not to mention, have just done a tremendous job. So really proud of them and proud of how that came out. So looking good. Good work.
Alright,
I think we should stop.
done for the day.
Finish on a high note.
Alright,
Wrap up.
sadly, we have to move on to new business.
Okay.
You want me to do them as you describe them?
Yeah,
Okay.
try to be easiest. First up, motion to adopt the tax levy for 2019 payable in 2020. As I mentioned, that has to set on display for 20 days. And we went through all of that during our October meeting. So I would just recommend that we go ahead and approve the levy. And I will run it around to the courthouses probably after Thanksgiving.
Okay, so I need a motion to adopt the tax levy for 2019 payable in 2020.
So moved.
Motion made by James Kent, is there a second?
Second.
Linda Weldy, call roll please.
Guerrero,
Yes?
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes, Person,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Welby.
Yes.
Next up, I have a motion to abate the taxes, and those are for our general obligation bonds. That was the I don't remember the total, 6.7 something or other. Not the working cash, that we actually have to levy for. The general obligation bonds will be paid off by the revenue that we bring in from the sales tax money. And the reason that we have to go through this resolution to abate those is that $7.6 million or $6.8 million will not go against our bonding capacity then. And it's something that we will have to do. We'll have to have this resolution in November every year for the next 20 years. So, when I move on, I will make sure the other next superintendent knows that they need to get that on there, so it does not go against our bonding capacity, which then in turn would affect our overall rating, financial rating.
You don't intend to be here in 20 years?
You wanna see this too?
So I need a motion to adopt the resolution abating the
I don't think
taxes
you want me here 20 years.
heretofore levied for the year 2020 to pay debt service on the general obligation school bonds, alternate revenue source, series 2019B of Community Unit School District Number 9, Macon, Sangamon, and Christian counties in Illinois.
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper, is there a second?
Second.
Eric Pearson?
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes. Pearson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Welby,
Yes.
Guerrero.
Yes.
Guerrero.
It's me choking on my
Okay.
Next up, we discussed, the roof a couple different times at the intermediate building. I would recommend that, you approve the addendum from NG to include intermediate roof replacement for an amount not to exceed $380,568.
And I guess what we didn't ask her while she was here is that will go into the scope, that May to September timeline, and it'll be done with no issue.
Correct.
Okay. So, motion to approve the addendum with NG for intermediate roof replacement for an amount not to exceed $380,568. $380,568.
So moved.
Motion made by Jeff Stahl, is there a second?
Second.
Roger Reed, call roll please.
Pearson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Welby,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes.
In my superintendent's report, I talked about the middle school boiler replacement, and we have to, so I do not have to go through the process of hiring an architect and doing a low bid, because of the fact that the boiler was ruptured and it's leaking water currently. I spoke with Barney, our attorney, he said, let's go ahead and do a resolution for emergency repair, so that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
And I recommend that you approve that.
So I need a motion to approve the resolution for emergency repair of the middle school boiler as presented.
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
James Kent, call roll please.
Reed,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Welby,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes. Pearson.
Yes.
We talked about the middle school boiler replacement again, and the fact that King Lar will be doing $135,812.
Okay, so motion to approve the bid of King Lar to replace middle school boiler for an amount not to exceed $135,812.
So moved.
Martha Leeper, is there a second?
Second.
Linda Welby, call roll please.
Stahl,
Yes.
Welby,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes. Pearson,
Yes.
Reed.
Yes. And the last thing for the resolutions, I need you to adopt the resolution as presented, I'm sorry, we're on the wrong one. Motion to approve the electric system extension agreement with Ameren, so we can get three-phase down here.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
So I'll go Eric Pearson as a first, James Kent as a second, call roll please.
Welby,
Yes.
Guerrero,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Leeper, yes. Pearson,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Stahl.
Yes.
Can I backtrack real quickly?
Mhm.
When did King Lar think they were gonna be able to do that with the middle school?
Hopefully, they have equipment in stock, hopefully to do it over Christmas break,
Okay, and we'll wait through until,
barring.
And I have been fortunate enough to be our delegate and our vote for the last 4 years. So we have these resolutions that districts have brought forward. We were in the resolution process 1 year. We put a resolution together
Last year.
it's been 2 years
years.
now. Hoping to get the 1% sales tax just statewide. At that time, Sangamon County had not enacted it, and we had it in Macon County, and we had it in Christian, but we didn't have Sangamon. So we went through the whole process. I spoke on the floor and everything, and we didn't pass, and then Sangamon passed it, so we're good now. They don't wanna bring it up again. But there are 12 resolutions on the floor this year. And the first one, and probably what will be the biggest again, is a repeat of last year. Remember last year we had the student safety issue? It was about concealed carry of volunteers or staff in the buildings. We had news crews there interviewing us.
Protester.
Yes, it was a big deal. Well, Mercer County has brought it around again. And this year, Resolutions Committee is recommending that we do adopt. We do adopt the policy this year. And just briefly, some of the wording, that it would be voluntary for district employees. And then there's a whole list of criteria for you to be able to do it. You would have to have a valid Illinois FOID card, hold an Illinois concealed carry license, have completed all additional trainings and certifications set forth by the respective school board, so that'll come under a policy issue if it passes one of these days. You would have to do a yearly certified active shooter training. And only district employees who fulfill all the requirements and receive superintendent and board approval would be eligible as an active and armed part of the student safety and protection plan. So with all this criteria, the resolutions committee is now saying, because, and this was the whole argument last year, it was more downstate schools, lags in response times, not having, law enforcement close enough. Now they're saying that's a very good idea, it should be a local control issue. So they are recommending that we do adopt. All right, the rest of them are probably never going to affect us a whole lot. There's a school safety grant program resolution, so they're asking that legislation come forward to create a grant program that schools can apply to get money to hire a school resource officer. And financial need of your school or where you are on the tier program and your geography would come into play. So that might be something, if it ever went through, that we could take advantage of. And then just random, there's a couple about charter schools, which don't have any bearing on us. Peoria School District put 3 resolutions forward. One is to compensate school board members, but IASB says do not adopt. Because then they're afraid people would run for school board for the wrong reasons and the money needs to be going to the students. So that's a do not adopt. There are only 2 that are do not adopt. One is school member compensation, and then Lincoln, one of the Lincoln schools has a resolution about the swearing in process. When new members are elected, right now, board president swears you in. They want it to also, it could be a circuit judge or clerk or a judge. And as it came through the process, the resolutions committee realized that it's more of a problem just in that school district with some members, and it's not a statewide thing. So that's a no. That one is a no. But other than that, you have the books you can read on your own. They're very interesting. All 12 will probably not make it to the floor. Some will get dropped before we get there. But it would be my recommendation that we just follow the recommendations of IASB. I see nothing from our standpoint that would be at odds with what they're resolving. So I think we could do it as an entire group. They have 5 position statements that they're just tweaking a little bit too, but charter schools, prevailing wage. It'll be an interesting day.
I'm probably on the opposite end of the gun issue, as everybody else, but, I mean, it's gonna do what it's gonna do, I guess.
Well, and again, it will be up to each district. And that's saying if it makes it through legislation and it becomes policy. We're just at the very beginning stages.
Yeah, and based on.
But no one is going to tell a school that you have to do this. It's going to be.
Can you adopt your own rules? Can you adopt additional rules or like restrictions on who can carry?
I don't know. I mean, if this makes it all the way through and this becomes legislation and law, I don't know that we can
I think it says,
increase?
it said it was based on what the school had, I thought you read in there that it said that once, if it does make it all the way through, that the school then has control over its own policy.
Yeah, and it does say that only district employees who fulfill all the requirements listed
Additional
and receive superintendent and board approval.
Yeah.
So just because someone does all of the stuff, doesn't mean that they necessarily still get to do it. Each individual has to be approved by both the superintendent and the board.
Yes. Those are additional trainings and certifications that the board can require. Yes, we could tighten it even more if we wanted to, but.
I would say
yes.
you'd want to tighten it down.
School resource officer makes more sense than anyone with
Right,
school carry.
Right, and that's a resolution too, like to get that grant funding, but where's that money gonna come from?
Yep.
So, but here's an interesting one, resolution 4, Peoria is the only downstate school district in the state of Illinois that has a hired police force. Did you know that? Anybody know that? So at some point, they've had to let that police force go, and I don't know why, it doesn't tell me why, but this resolution is to allow them to reestablish it. So they have a police force with the duty of serving a public school district without other jurisdictional authority.
So it's basically like a college police force.
Yeah, like a security force.
So they're not actually a local law enforcement officer?
No, just within the district, the school district.
I mean, they have to be a law enforcement officer
Right.
licensed in the state, but it's working for the district.
Only that they have
They
no
can't work
other
for other-
jurisdictional authority.
Like
Yeah.
normal up in ISU has their own police force.
Right,
So
Right.
is Milliken for that matter.
right.
But I don't think anyone at Milliken actually carries firearms. Do they?
Well, the police officers do.
The police
But,
officers?
but, yes,
Oh, okay. Didn't think-
not all of them, the chief and the assistant chief do.
All right.
Can it carry less than lethal?
Like a stun gun?
Yeah.
This is all about,
Well, that's what you can ask, cause I would nominate
you want me to
go
stand up and
ahead.
ask that?
Can we just
Sorry,
tase people?
can we just tase people?
Crack one off too while you're doing it.
Oh my
Conference
goodness.
Everybody's doing it.
Okay, we've gone astray.
Look who you're talking
Bring
to,
it back.
I'm
Yeah.
just straight arrow, I wanna do it.
So are
Okay,
we,
my recommendation is that we just adopt them as a whole per the resolutions committee recommendations. And I'll vote them straight according to their recommendation.
all right, so then we need a motion to adopt the resolutions as presented by the resolutions committee.
I'd say motion to adopt the resolutions and recommendations,
And recommendations.
because that's what I'm gonna take, or whoever's gonna vote, I think.
As presented by the IASB resolutions
Yes,
committee.
yes. Right,
Okay,
so I will make that motion.
Martha Leeper. All in, or no, I need a second, please. I'm
Second.
rushing this meeting. Eric, was that a second? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, so then at this point, we need a motion.
Martin?
I need some more cold medication. I need a motion to approve Martha Leeper as the board's voting member for the 2019 Resolutions Committee.
So moved.
Motion made by Linda Welby, is there a second?
Second.
James Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay.
Thank you. I will vote
Thank you.
proudly for you.
Okay, next, the sports boosters, as always, would like to use the intermediate middle school for their annual Farrell Flat Tournament. This year, it's gonna be February 7th through February 9th of 2020. I recommend that you do that.
All right.
And you do that by voice.
Can I get a motion to approve the sports boosters to use the intermediate building and middle school for their annual Farrell Flat Tournament?
So moved.
Motion made by Roger Reed. Second?
Second.
By Jeff Stoll. Call roll, please. Or, no, I'm sorry, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, the village of Illiopolis would like to use the intermediate cafeteria and the K-PAC for their annual Christmas festival, and that's gonna be held on December 7th.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
James Kent. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, the scouts would like to use the primary cafeteria on the 25th of January for their annual Pinewood Derby.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Martha Leeper. I'll second it.
Who seconded?
Me. And all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
And then, the scouts would like to use the primary building cafeteria again on February 29th for their annual blue and gold banquet. And I recommend you allow them to do that.
Anyone wanna make a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Eric Pearson, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Leeper, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next regular scheduled meeting is the 18th, back at 6 p.m.
If you hear something back from Marty on those policies, will we just throw them in this
On the
meeting?
102, yeah,
Okay.
updates.
Will we do 102 in December regardless? Or will we wait till
There
January?
are some things that really need to be in place before January, so as much as I don't wanna have an additional meeting, I think we could probably get to it relatively quick again.
You wanna make that do a 5:30 policy meeting again?
So we wanna do December at 5:30,
December, what?
18th, same day.
the same day and do the policies?
Oh, well, I think there would be a lot more than what we had. If you think, most of them would be cut and dry again, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it would be that. Now we would have to do another evening.
I'll revamp them again and just do a little addendum, like a synopsis to everybody.
So 5:30 on the.
Yeah, 5:30 on the
That
18th.
way we can do another policy review just before.
Yeah.
And that way we can have a picture taken in between.
Oh,
not
pictures.
just heads
Or
up.
Dress
picture.
appropriately.
Wear sweaters.
We're taking,
Are we supposed to?
Ugly Christmas sweater?
this goes year round on the website.
We're the
Yeah.
ugly
Yeah.
Christmas sweaters.
We need a new board.
Mesh tank tops.
Okay, so, next regular scheduled board meeting, we'll do a special meeting at 5:30 for policy updates only, and then the regular meeting will start at 6 p.m., and I need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Jeff Stahl, second,
Second?
Eric Pearson, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, 7:19.